All right. Welcome to the Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Carlito Santiago, and today I'm here to give you the breakdown of Night of Champions and the SmackDown summary because I forgot to do it on Saturday. I figured since we got the stream today, I'll give it to you here. So, just 24 hours before we present, of course, Night of Champions in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we have to talk about what went down on SmackDown. And boy, was it disappointing. Ricky Saints one-upped Trick Williams entering Night of Champions. Less than a day before they do battle for the U.S. Championship at Night of Champions, Trick Williams and Absolute Ricky Saints met in the squared circle as part of the night's opening segment promo segment, whatever. Saints tried to snap Williams out of the fun-loving mood he was in and reminded him of the threat that he is to the U.S. title. When that did not work, he resorted to physicality, delivering a cheap shot to Lil Yachty, then sliding back into the ring to level the champion. This was a little substance to this one outside of Saints trying to change the tone of the program to reflect the seriousness of competing for gold. Unfortunately, he has not been built to that point that he is really a believable enough opponent to dethrone Williams on Saturday, which undoubtedly hurts the match. Sucks, but that's the case. Grading a C. Also, interesting that Williams' marriage to Lash Legend was addressed in the opening promo, considering he was very much a babyface and she is not. Alexa Bliss and Tiffany Stratton took on B-Fab and Meat Chin. Well, the women's U.S. champion, Tiffany Stratton, renewed a rivalry with Jade Cargill, wrote its latest chapter on SmackDown, and before, their match set for Night of Champions. So, the Storm interjected herself late into the tag match that pitted her cronies, Meat Chin and B-Fab, up against Stratton and Bliss. The match itself was perfectly acceptable, although a formalic tag team match that we have seen countless times. But it had the fans invested. The crowd loved Stratton and was hot down the stretch after she received a hot tag. Cargill interfered, costing Stratton the match, then laid the babyface out to build further heat for the upcoming contest. We had seen countless angles like this before, but based on the reaction, it worked. If only did it not replicate the same one later on. C+. Now Chelsea Green also made the save for the babyfaces post-match, setting up her battle with Cargill later in the show. A Cruiserweight Championship, a AAA Cruiserweight Championship match would happen. Rey Fenix would defend the title against Nathan Frazier. Probably the best thing on the card. Take two fast-paced, high-flying babyfaces, put them in the ring together, and let them tear the house down. It is a tried and true formula, and one WWE worked to perfection Friday when they booked Rey Fenix to defend the title against Nathan Frazier. A good competitive, athletic matchup that highlights the talents of both men. It ended with Frazier getting two into his offense, and Phoenix scouting it, catching him in the corner and delivering the Mexican muscle buster for the win. Will it have any measurable long-term effect on the show? Probably not, but on a 3-hour broadcasting, devoting time to a good match involving respected competitors and performers is always a good way to eat some of it up. And we're going back to 2 hours next week, I believe. So yeah, grade a B+. This is also a great way to bring exposure to AAA brand that may not have otherwise gotten. LA Knight seemingly cannot trust Solo Sikoa. After Solo Sikoa got involved in and helped him win his match with Jimmy Uso on Raw, LA Knight showed up on SmackDown looking for answers. Sikoa defended his actions, admitting his hate for his family and the bloodline. More surprisingly, he attempted to forge a partnership with Knight to help battle Roman Reigns, the Usos, Jacob Fatu, but the megastar rejected the offer. After all, how many times does he have to watch family members return to Roman's rule? Knight vowed to remain by himself in his battles with the bloodline, to the dismay of Solo Sikoa, which could possibly set up LA Knight eventually teaming up with Solo to take down Roman's cronies, Jimmy, Jay, and of course Jacob Fatu. But LA Knight did not fall into the typical trap that undoes babyfaces by embracing a heel. He kept Solo at arm's length, even if he does understand the former Bloodline Enforcers' issues with the unit. JC Jane took on Paige. Paige returned home to London in front of her fans and family members and squared off with Fatal Influence's JC Jane. The former NXT Women's Champion dominated the hometown hero, but a last-second appearance from Brie Bella allowed Paige to roll up JC Jane and steal the win. The match was fine, nothing more or less. It sets up the stage for JC, Laney, Reed, and or Fallon Henley to challenge for the tag team titles eventually. Paige looks solid here, and it is getting her working legs under her. Paige looks solid here and is still getting her working legs under her as she benefits from increased TV appearances. The question is why is WWE has suddenly become okay with the idea of booking JC Jane to lose? Her and Fatal Influence took over the scene on Friday nights following the post-WrestleMania call-up, but they've had their momentum stunted in recent weeks. Amid the losses they should not be taking, which is true. They should be built up to face the champions. That's why when they had a tag team match recently, they lost to Paige and Brie, which made no fucking sense. Anyway, speaking of tag team matches, we finally got one because they don't care about our tag team division at all. Danhausen and Matt Cardona teamed up to take on Los Garzas, who believed that the face-painted babyface owes the money following the New York Knicks win in the NBA Finals, in a match resulting from a backstage segment. A straightforward match that was never really about 3 of the 4 competitors involved. It was a showcase for Danhausen and the zombified Miz and Kit Wilson shtick. That is by no means a bad thing, as it has been one of the most reliable, entertaining elements of the show. It was inoffensive, but did not overstay its welcome, and highlighted a character that had been all over mainstream TV and social media due to his connections with the Knicks. Danhausen should be everywhere. And that's about it. Great to see. Most like everything else. I think everything at this stage has been nothing more, nothing less than what it's been graded. So no changing of the grade. I'm perfectly fine with it. We're just going to keep on rolling. Chelsea Green took on Jade Cargill. Yeah, nothing noteworthy here. Honestly, same kind of mix here. We can continue. Julia took on Kiana James. Julia and Kiana James brought the rivalry to its conclusion on Friday night when the Beautiful Madness dispatched her former business associate in a surprising good match. James, as she has done repeatedly this year, rose to the occasion and never looked overwhelmed or out of place sharing the ring with her opponent. Julia, conversely, is woefully underutilized and mismanaged superstar, along with Candice LeRae, who we have not seen before either, with Johnny Gargano also sleeping on crates. Underutilized and mismanaged superstar in the making, and should be much further along than she is. With that said, she earned the big win here, only to be jumped by the debuting Blake Monroe, making her first SmackDown appearance. A good match, a big debut, and hopefully the start to a quality push for Julia, one that makes this one, a quality push for Julia, which makes this one the most complete segment of the show. So we're going to bump that C+ to a B-. Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Sami Zayn promo segment to end the show. The final opportunity to hype up their match. They've all staked their claim. Also, Uso and Femi staking their claim. The in-ring promo evolved to chaos, all involved getting physical. But it looked as if Oba Femi is leading to facing Cody Rhodes for SummerSlam. However, things get derailed because of what had transpired at Night of Champions. So, the final grade? Well, yeah, C+. This show was another 3-hour marathon that did not stay interesting for its duration. But they had plenty going on to, of course, peak interest. The build to Night of Champions was excellent. The sudden emergence of Solo Sikoa as a potential sympathetic figure, great might work from LA Knight, and a show closer that highlighted a tremendous group of talent ahead of Saturday's matches helped elevate this broadcast. But that's all it did. Hopefully we go back to 2 hours. The final 3 hours go back to 2 hours now. And there's a couple of reasons for why WWE does this. I want to address this. So the reason WWE goes from 3 to 2 or 2 to 3 is because of a couple things. So one, they have a partnership with the USA Network, and that partnership is going to last until 2029. However, WWE has seen what Raw has been doing for the last year or so with Raw on Netflix being 2.5 hours. They believe that 2.5 hours feels right instead of that 3-hour program that you used to get back on Raw when it used to be 3 hours. WWE wants there to be a 2.5-hour mark for wrestling for WWE on USA. USA is not giving them that. So USA is willing to give them the 2 hours that they want, but nothing more. And then there's the 3 hours. If they want an extra hour, they're not going to get their 2:30. They're not going to get their 2.5 hours worth of wrestling. They are going to get either 2 hours and that's it, or they're going to get they can get an extra hour. And they're going to have to tie in that extra hour. Full of shit. So it's really up to them at this point. For me personally, I think the 2.5 hours works, But I also think I think that 2 hours works for SmackDown beautifully if you pace it correctly and add in what you need to add in, you know. However, WWE should honestly cut their ties with the USA and put everything on Netflix at this point. Put SmackDown on Netflix, take SmackDown Vault, put everything SmackDown wise on Netflix. And they still have a deal with Peacock. So to do the Saturday night main events and still have the SmackDowns on there. So in their wrestling documentary contracts, even with fucking 2029 looking possible or right in the rearview mirror. So yeah, but at this point, WWE has not fulfilled their obligations to on the SmackDown side of things to the USA or to Peacock. So for that regard, it's just a wait and see. But that was the SmackDown summary. Let me know what you guys think about the SmackDown summary. And we can move on to Night of Champions. So, speaking of Night of Champions, in many ways, WWE Night of Champions 2026 served as the official kickoff to SummerSlam a mere 5 weeks out. That meant it was imperative for the event emanating from Saudi Arabia. We kicked off the show with Obafemi versus Jey Uso. It was... I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not like this match because it felt like a short and sweet squash for Obafemi. That isn't to say Uso scored a 0 offense whatsoever. However, the contest was as competitive as it needed to be. But in the end, Obafemi dominated a majority of it. And he should have. And went over in a decisive fashion. Despite being a former World Heavyweight Champion and incredibly accomplished overall, Uso is simply no match for Femi. So giving him an ounce of optimism, only for him to ultimately fall short, was the correct call. Keeping it on the shorter side and not watering it down with any interferences was the way to go. Yes, I'm glad that I got this prediction wrong because this is what I really wanted this to be. I honestly wanted Obafemi to win. I didn't want fucking Jey Uso to win because of Brock Lesnar getting it. Well, actually, I did. I did say that would happen because that felt obvious, to set up, Oba and Brock for SummerSlam. However, to see no interferences, no problem, I thought it was good in that regard. So, yeah, I'm glad that Obafemi won and became your King of the Ring. And now he has to make a choice. Does he want to face Roman Reigns, or does he want to face the winner of the triple threat match? Graded a C+. And I agree. We then moved on to the Queen of the Ring, Io Sky versus Liv Morgan. Io Sky hurt her knee during this match. Danhausen was out on the stage beforehand to greet the Saudi crowd, only to be interrupted by Morgan. She wasn't happy about Danhausen stealing $100,000 from the Judgment Day, which led to Danhausen predictably casting a curse on Morgan before a big match. This was a bit of an uncertainty surrounding the outcome, but definitely not after the curse, which is a shame because the two ladies went on to deliver a quality contest. Needless to say, this almost went double the time as Femi and Uso, and thankfully so. Some of Morgan's best bouts in the recent years has been with Sky, and she put forth another condemnable performance here. The crowd was into the action and responded favorably to Io's victory, and so did I. Io also hurt her knee. Following her win, Io Sky announced that she would challenge Morgan for the World Heavyweight Championship, or the Women's Heavyweight Championship, and I totally agree with this. This is exactly where I predicted this to go. So our first match made for SummerSlam will be that we're going to have Io Sky versus Morgan for the title. That confirms the rematch in 5 weeks, and Morgan probably won't defend her title until then. Something she hasn't done since winning it at WrestleMania. And yes, it's fucking ridiculous because we should have never put her, we should have never put the title on her at WrestleMania. WWE didn't know what they were doing here. Like, they should have fucking left it with Stephanie Vakir and then led to this. Have Liv Morgan get that opportunity, or even have Stephanie Vakir versus Io Sky at SummerSlam. Like, why did we put the fucking title on Liv Morgan? Why didn't we just have the whole Judgment Day go after the title simultaneously for a few more months? Like, why didn't we just build that? Why didn't we have Stephanie Vakir retain the title against Morgan at Mania, and then have Roxanne, have Raquel go after the title? Right? What the fuck? Like, why didn't we have them go after the title? For Liv Morgan to just become jealous and shit? Like, and she hadn't defended since. She hasn't defended the title since WrestleMania. Since winning it. She's never defended it. So yeah, I hope Morgan fucking loses the title at SummerSlam. I fucking do. I'm pissed. But yes, this match was better than Femi and Uso, undoubtedly. But this match was better than probably the main event, in my opinion. It was a weapons galore as both Rollins and Breaker brought in tables, chairs, kendo sticks, fucking trash cans, anything else they could find in the ring can fit into the ring. The cage itself is a selling point for the stipulation. So although they made the most of the extreme environment, it was unnecessary. Well, here's the thing. You didn't want them to escape the cage, first off, okay? Because in my opinion, making either one of them escape the cage makes them look weak. It does. It's necessarily like a cowardice way to do things, right? You always have that, where like the heel has to escape the cage. And no, both of them are strong in their own rights. So escaping the cage would have been pointless. This was definitely going to end with a submission or pinfall. Despite that, they had quite the entertaining, hard-hitting affair. Rollins endured several spears. Breaker didn't go down easy. It was a war, plain and simple. Rollins putting Breaker through the table with a superplex was arguably the highlight. Along with the curb stomp off the top rope, that earned him the victory. They took the approach of showing Breaker still had fight left in him before Rollins delivered the final blow. So yeah, B+. And can move on from this shit. WWE's cooling off of Breaker needs to be studied. Sure, he'll bounce back eventually, but there was no reason to have Rollins go over in a feud unless the idea is to have him face Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. All signs point to that being where WWE is headed. Correct. I want to highlight this for one moment to address this because this is interesting. Braun Breaker to me is going to win Money in the Bank at Money in the Bank. He's more likely to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, cash in on Rollins, and defeat him for the title. The only way to have that work is for Rollins to face Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That means Obafemi will face the champion of the triple threat match, which seems likely. Breaker needs to cool down for a bit so we do not injure him because he just came back. So again, this is the idea that WWE, and all signs do point to WWE leading to Rollins and Roman for a 100th time. Moving on, we move to our United States Championship match. Trick Williams defended the title against Ricky Saints. Nothing bad, everything felt good. What a year it's been for Trick Williams, who arrived on SmackDown at the onset of 2026 and quickly captured the love of the fans. He went on to win the United States Championship at WrestleMania 42 and has been a reoccurring highlight since. Ricky Saints doesn't have the same momentum, but he does have promise, and this match showcased it. It was a well-worked bout with Saints proving that he excels at both as a wrestler and a character, leading to the biggest reaction he has received yet on the main roster. The crowd was quiet for almost the entire matchup, but it was an admirable effort from both. Williams needs to continue defending the Star-Spangled Prize consistently to maintain the prestige that Sami Zayn, Carmelo Hayes, and Ilya Dragunov have given it during its respective reign. So I hope that they do a U.S. title match for the July 3rd episode when they pre-taped it. I hope they did a United States Championship match or did something great for that bout. That would have been nice. Great, a B-, and we can keep going. The Women's U.S. Championship was next. Stratton and Jade Cargill. Although Cargill pinned Stratton in the tag team match action not long ago on SmackDown, this was always more about Cargill's ongoing rivalry with Charlotte Flair. Cargill attacked Flair shortly before her Queen of the Ring matchup with Liv Morgan and was prevented from advancing. Stratton and Cargill's match had been hit or miss in SummerSlam last year. So while there was nothing out of the ordinary about this encounter, at least they worked a fanatic pace and there was never a dull moment. It became clear that there was no interference in any of the other matches on the show because WWE was saving it for this. B-Fab and Michin attempted to assist Cargill into victory, only for Chelsea Green, and Charlotte Flair to counteract that. So, Stratton would retain the belt, and this would lead us to what would possibly be Charlotte Flair versus Cargill in a one-on-one match. WWE has a decent job keeping SmackDown women's scene interesting in the absence of an injured Rhea Ripley. I did not know that Rhea Ripley was injured. I did not know that, but she's the women's champion, so where the fuck is she? Who is she facing at SummerSlam? Will she be at SummerSlam for that matter? These are some questions that WWE fans want to know, WWE. Come on. I wouldn't say it's a C-. Honestly, it's just not good. But I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C because maybe it was a 10. It was 10 to be overbooked. So no minus. Take that minus out. I think the minus only comes in because we've seen this matchup a handful of fucking times. We then get to our triple threat match. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Gunther for the Undisputed Championship. The storyline has salvaged SmackDown in recent months, largely thanks to Rhodes, Zayn. Gunther has played his role well, but it's really Rhodes and Zayn doing the heavy lifting on the promo side of things to make this match feel must-see. These three had fantastic chemistry and kept the crowd engaged throughout. There was no shortage of suspenseful near falls and finishers exchanged. It helped that the outcome was generally unpredictable, so it could have ended at any moment. Well, I don't think it would have been unpredictable to guess that Cody Rhodes would have retained and most likely faced Obafemi or somebody else like Sami Zayn. What it did come down to was Sami Zayn and Rhodes in the middle of the ring, going back and forth, accumulating with Zayn stealing the pin to clinch the prestigious prize for the first time in his career. Yes, after hitting a crossroads with Gunther trapped in a submission, Cody would hit a crossroads only to go back and try to hit a crossroads on Zayn, only for Zayn to roll him up for the win. This had an electric environment, and the crowd treated him like a total hero when he won, despite his character being portrayed as a tweener lately. So Zayn pinned Rhodes to become the W champion. Here's the thing. I am very happy and glad that WWE pushed Sami Zayn to win the championship. I am. Even though WWE had plans to have Sami Zayn win the title at WrestleMania 43 in Saudi, I'm glad that WWE put the title on Zayn. It was about fucking time. And I've been rooting for Zayn to win the title at WrestleMania for a year. And I'm just glad that they decided to do it here and not 10 months later. It does speak volume in a good way that Rhodes was the one that Zayn pinned. Granted, it was by a roll-up and nothing too decisive, but it was better than him not factoring into the finish at all. It'd be disappointing for him to have won the belt back. It would be disappointing for him to win the belt back in short order from Zayn. But again, this is a more preferred. This is way more preferred than Rhodes holding the title nonstop to SummerSlam. Where does Gunther go for here? Well, it looks like it's safe to say that a retirement match with Brock Lesnar is off the table as well. So it's maybe you could have him face Brock at this point now, if you wanted to. If you really wanted Brock Lesnar to have a retirement match, you could have Gunther be the one to do it. Zayn most likely will face Obafemi, with Cody Rhodes taking a break or facing CM Punk, or returning CM Punk, questioning where the fuck his title match is because he wants it now, and Cody doesn't have the title to give him it. So he's going to take out his frustration on Cody. Sami Zayn is, at this point, a transitional champion, because what's going to happen, most likely, is that Obafemi is going to face Sami Zayn for the title, and he's going to beat Sami Zayn. And I don't like that Sami Zayn's not even going to have a proper title run, but hold the title and keep it warm for Obafemi. I don't like that at all. I just don't. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good at all. Overall, I mean, I did like that they put the belt on Zayn. It's just he's not gonna have a long reign with it. And he really doesn't need to have a long reign, but I wish he did. I wish he was given the same. I wish superstars like Zayn at this moment in time were given long title reigns, to show how good of a champion they are. And Sami's a fighting champion. We know this because we've seen his US title work. So I don't know. As noted, the previous purpose of the PLE was to build towards SummerSlam in 5 weeks. Although only Io Sky versus Liv Morgan had been made official for the card, several other matchups look more likely for the Night of Champions in booking. So this show had significance. But if you were looking for an AEW, Es Machina event with a handful of exceptional matches, Night of Champions was not for you. The main event was the sole bout that stood out in that sense, and WWE's title change saved the show from being one that you could skip entirely. We've seen hotter episodes of Raw in recent months, and the finals of the King and Queen of the Ring matchups were hardly match classics. The Saudi crowd was inconsistent at various points and did not make for the most electric atmosphere, but all the right people went over. 6 match card are the way. Yeah, 6-match cards are the way to go, but WWE needs to make these PLEs feel like bigger deals in execution. Night of Champions was perfectly fine in a vacuum, even from an in-ring standpoint, but it was more crucial as far as what means for the future. SummerSlam has potential to be an above average event if the right pieces are in place and if the booking improves, specifically on SmackDown side in the few weeks ahead. They need more writers on SmackDown. It's the only way that it can really go, you know. It's just it really comes down to like we need this to be a fucking also shout out to Graham Matthews. Shout out to Graham Matthews for the Bleach Report. SmackDown needs more writing. I said I was willing to help out. If WWE wants to look through and see like what I can give you out to what I believe SummerSlam is going to be like. Well, yeah, I can tell you what SummerSlam could be like. I could tell you damn well what SummerSlam would look like. Fucking Roman Reigns versus Obafemi would be heavily pushed. That would be my heavily pushed side. However, we need to factor in some things. Oba needs to really decide who he's facing before we can even move forward with what I believe is happening at SummerSlam, because there's a lot of outcomes. For instance, with this, if Oba chooses Roman, that means that we need to do Cody and Sami Zayn. That's the unfortunate side. However, if Oba chooses Sami Zayn, this is perfect because now you can fit Seth Rollins into that point. You could have Cody Rhodes take some time off or face a returning Punk who's looking for a title match where Cody Rhodes doesn't have the title to provide a title match for, and it would be Cody versus Punk. You could do Brock Lesnar versus Gunther in a retirement match. You can do Flair and fucking Cargill, right? For the time being, as Ripley is hurt, and we can have the winner of that face Ripley, the winner of that being Charlotte Flair. But again, we can have Intercontinental and United States Championship matches across the board. It looks like Fatal Influence could take on the women's tag team titles at SummerSlam as well, depending on what WWE decides to do. Save Braun Breaker off of SummerSlam. Let him heal up. Let him get, ready for Money in the Bank because that's coming around the corner. You could also, and with Liv Morgan and Io Sky, it looks like Liv Morgan should drop the title to Io because there's really nothing in the bag or in the cards for Liv Morgan right now. There's no opponents for her, so why have her retain? You know what I mean? So, yeah, at this point, WWE is really just grinding and thinking of like what's the good possible outcome for this. And with 2 nights, they have to book. So I'm just saying it really comes down to Obafemi's decision, and then we can pivot into, well, this is what I think is happening. But until then, we'll have to see what happens. Let me know what you guys thought about Night of Champions in the comments down below. Please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on those post notifications so you miss a stream. I will be back on Tuesday to give you the Raw review, the follow-up from Night of Champions. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Peace.